Okay, so on problem number 1, we have negative 12 minus negative 21 plus 5 minus 2. So every time I said the word minus, that's the operator that we have to change to addition, okay? So let's go through and change all the minus operators to addition. So let's put down negative 12. Change this operator from minus to a plus. Now, whenever we change it to an addition, remember to say to yourself, change to addition, take the opposite. So we change to addition, take the opposite of 21, or negative 21, which is just 21, plus 5. We don't change anything there because it's already addition. And then minus 2. So change to addition, take the opposite. Okay, so that right there, because we changed it to addition, it's the additive inverse. We changed everything to adding, so therefore it's additive inverse. Now we are going to rearrange these numbers into an order that we feel comfortable with. So I see negative 12 and negative 2 that I sort of want to group together later, okay? And then the 21 and the 5 is what I want to group. So I'm going to rearrange these numbers in an order that I like. So I'm going to choose 21 plus 5, and then the negative 12, and then the negative 2. So the fact that I rearranged them to my liking, that is commutative property. Okay? Now I'm actually going to group them. I'm grouping them using the symbol, the parentheses, okay? So I'm going to put the 25 or the 21 plus 5 in one set. And then in another set, I'm going to put the negative 12 plus negative 2. Okay? And that right there, the fact of grouping, is associative. Now let's go ahead and simplify everything that we can. We've done all the properties that we can do. We haven't done any computation yet. All we did was rearrange some numbers, get them to our liking so that we can solve the problem. 21 plus 5, that's 26. I have a negative 12 plus another negative 2, that's a negative 14. Now all I have to do is take 26 plus a negative 14. Well, the 26 is positive and the 14 is negative. So because they're both not positive and because they're both not negative, I'm actually going to subtract these numbers. So 26 minus 14 is 12. And I know my answer is going to be positive 12 because I have 26 more. I started out with 26 positive chips. Okay, and I needed to get rid of 14. So my answer is 12. Okay, for this one, you can automatically see what property to do first. Okay, so go ahead and pause your screen and complete the first property on your paper and then push play when you're ready for the answer. Okay, if you performed the identity property, you are correct because you got rid of the 0, and that is the identity property. Next, I want you to go ahead and try on your own to perform the next property because we have 50 minus 24 minus 75. All those minuses need to go away. So you perform that property on your own. Pause the screen or pause the video and try it on your own, then push play for answers. Okay, so you should have written 50 plus negative 24 plus negative 75. Again, because we change it to addition, take the opposite of the next number. That's the additive inverse property. So let's just look at these numbers. And the negative 24 and the negative 75, well, those are the numbers that I would want to group together. So I don't have to change the order here because they're technically already next to each other. So I'm going to keep the 50 there. But I'm just going to go ahead and group my negatives together. The fact that I'm grouping takes me directly to associative. I did not have to rearrange the numbers, okay? okay? So from here, we've basically named all the properties that we could, and now it's time to simplify. So do me a favor, pause the video, go ahead and simplify this, okay? Because right now we have 3 terms. We have 1, 2, 3 terms, and we need to get it down to 1 term. So simplify this as far as you can go, press pause, and then push play to resume for the answers. Okay, so if you simplified what we had grouped together in the first place, the negative 24 and the negative 75, you should have gotten negative 99. Once you add 50 to that, notice that the 50 is positive, but the higher number is negative, so your answer is going to be negative. So if I know the 50 is positive and I know the 99 is negative, I'm technically going to subtract them, but realize that my answer is negative because the highest number was negative. Okay, let's move on. Number 3 says negative 4.5 minus negative 1.2 plus 14.3. So go ahead and pause your video and try to do the first property all by yourself. You should have put additive inverse, and you should have changed that minus sign to addition, and when doing so, you took the opposite of the following number, which became a positive 1.2. So now this actually makes our expression a lot easier. Let's go ahead and we don't have to rearrange the numbers in any order to our liking because our 2 positive numbers are right next to each other. So let's go ahead and group those. Let's keep the negative 4.5. And let's go ahead and group the 1.2 plus the 14.3. And that will be our associative property. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video. Go ahead and solve this expression until you can't go any further, and then resume play for when you're ready for the answer. Okay, so you should have gotten 15.5 when grouping 1.2 plus 14.3. And then when we add a negative 4.5 to it, we're actually technically subtracting it. Okay, so we actually get 11 as our answer. All right, let's move on to the last problem, number 4. All right, I know a bunch of you are freaking out because you see fractions. Well, don't worry about it. Let's get through the properties first and then worry about fractions later, okay? So at this time, we have 5/8 plus negative 1/2 minus 3/8. I want you to rewrite this expression, and I want you to get rid of that minus sign, okay, using that particular property that we need to use. So pause the video and do that right now. Okay, so you should have put 5/8 plus negative 1/2. That did not change. The thing that changed was the minus became addition, and you took the opposite of the 3/8. Okay, so you should have plus negative 3/8. That right there is the additive inverse. Now from here, okay, again, we do not have to perform the commutative property because they're already in an order that we're comfortable with. All we have to do now is group, and I want to group. Actually, you know what? I changed my mind. Let's go ahead and perform the commutative property because I see 2 fractions with a common denominator. Do you see what I'm talking about? I have an 8 here and an 8 here. So even though one is negative, one's positive, that's okay. Let's just go ahead and get them grouped for now. So let's go ahead and rearrange this order. Let's take 5/8 plus negative 3/8 and then negative 1/2. That's the commutative property. Okay, so we arrange them, so therefore once we arrange them, we have to note that it's commutative. Now we can actually show that we are grouping. I am grouping my common denominators together, okay? It's going to make life a lot easier when it actually comes to solving it. So grouping is associative. All right, now focus on 2 fractions at a time. Do not feel overwhelmed that there's 3 fractions, okay? So I want you at this time to pause the video and just add the 5/8 plus the negative 3/8, okay? Then we were going to resume video. Okay, so 5/8, okay, plus a negative 3/8, guys, that was 2/8, okay? That's why I said about combining your like fractions first because it's just that easy to solve. So now is when we actually have to do the common denominator part, okay? So 2/8 is going to stay the same. We don't have to change that. But we are going to take 1/2 and turn it into a fraction that has 8 as the denominator. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 4 times 1 is 4. So now we have to take 2/8 minus 4/8. Well, that's technically negative 2/8. And simplify that, and you get negative 1/4. Okay, good job.